I admired some of his work in the 60s and early 70s, but he turned into a dull celebrity businessman, branded to the hairline.
It's just, I ran out of ideas.
I preferred to live in a world where the Australian art critic Robert Hughes, who was once the most famous art critic in the world, called Andy Warhol stupid and his art dry and repetitive. But to my great disappointment, that world no longer exists. Not on YouTube anyway, not anymore. In the past, you could type Hughes, Warhol, stupid, or any similar combination in the search bar, and videos would instantly pop up. But now it's been scrubbed from the record. Where there were once videos, there are now alerts that the BBC blocked the content on copyright violations. And this is even if there are hundreds of other BBC art-related documentaries circulating on YouTube. And if that is not the problem, you might get a message that the channel that once shared the video no longer exists. It's as if Hughes never challenged the Warhol legacy, as if every art critic and historian unanimously only gushes the most wide-eyed, over-the-top ridiculous praise of Warhol, and there's never been any pushback.
Andy completely redefined the role of the artist. Just look at what he achieved, and you see that he genuinely changed art forever.
After much searching, I traced the clip to the documentary The Mona Lisa Curse, which is one of the last projects Hughes completed, and which has likewise been expunged from art history on YouTube. Because The Mona Lisa Curse accuses big money of destroying the art world and art at large along with it, many people think foul play is to blame for the film's disappearance online. Naturally, they suspect the same powerful and corrupting influences vilified in the film pulled strings to silence their criticism, and more importantly, to preserve the priceless value of their art acquisitions.
Can I just answer?
Yes, you can.
I was able to track down the documentary elsewhere than YouTube and to excerpt the cherished clip for your viewing pleasure. In order to share it here, I strictly adhered to fair use guidelines and also incorporated a lot of additional video editing just to be on the safe side. Before I share the segment, here's a bit of essential context. Hughes's following statement encapsulates the core message and tone of the documentary.
I've seen with growing disgust the fetishization of art, the vast inflation of prices, and the effect of this upon artists and museums.
Lot number 54.
The entanglement of big money with art has become a curse on how art is made, controlled,
Sold.
and above all, in the way that it's experienced. And this curse has infected the entire art world.
Given this is Hughes's take on the current art world, his conversation with a leading collector, who owns hundreds of Warhols, is more of a confrontation with a rhetorical nemesis than just an interview. The elder, grizzled, curmudgeonly, and toad-like incarnation of the great critic does not disguise his disdain for those who compromise art for personal gain or the threadbare art that they traffic in. Without further ado, behold one of the greatest moments in modern and contemporary art history.
Mr. Mugrabi, what is it that you collect?
I collect mostly modern contemporary art.
Somebody told me that your father had something like 800 Warhols. Is that true?
Yeah, that is true.
What's your opinion of Warhol?
I think Warhol is probably one of the most visionary artist of our time. He's an artist that has opened every door for every artist today.
Did you know him?
No, I never met Andy Warhol.
I used to. I thought he was one of the stupidest people I'd ever met in my life. I thought he was one of the stupidest people I'd ever met in my life.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because he had nothing to say.
The truth is, this cute little face right here absolutely is a killer in Australia.
Well, he didn't have anything to say probably verbally, but he said it all with his work.
Even the work seems to me to be rather dry and repetitious.
Well, that's what's amazing about it, that
Some of you out there might be thinking, hang on a second.
Even the work seems to me to be rather dry and repetitious.
well, that's what's amazing about it. What's amazing about it, that it is repetitious in the same way that when you read 4 or 5 newspapers a day, you're reading the same news, but you're still reading the 5 or 6 different newspapers.
This looks like a tasty, tasty meal. I'm going to eat it.
You see, I'm perplexed by Warhol because I think he's, had a considerable influence on media, but on the art of painting, I don't think so much.
When you're talking about Australia, and then they say, I want to go there, it sounds like the really new California.
Oh, I added that.
You mean you're putting words in my mouth, Bob?
To make you have something to say for a change.
When Hughes argues that Andy's art was dry and repetitive, Mughrabi doesn't contradict him, despite his family owning hundreds of Warhol pieces. He doesn't argue that the work continues to evolve or that the pieces are individually compelling. Instead, he counters that the dryness and repetitiveness is what makes them so amazing. As with so many arguments for Warhol and other giants of contemporary art, the reasoning is patently ludicrous.
Warhol was an early adopter of the silkscreen printmaking process. He totally radicalized the art market by erasing a concept so important to Western art: uniqueness and originality.
You can safely say that Andy Warhol never made an original work of art in his entire life. But that, they say, is what makes him so important and original.
The Canadian government spokesman said that your art could not be described as original sculpture. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Why do you agree?
Well, because it's not original.
You have just then copied a common item.
Yes.
Well, why have you bothered to do that? Why not create something new?
Because it's easier to do.
Andy's flippant manner and infuriating answers unleashed a storm in the art world and beyond. But his supporters believed he was doing something important, questioning the need for art to be original, arguing that it was the idea behind an artwork that mattered, and not necessarily the skill used to make it.
You see, it was original to be unoriginal. Robert Hughes's main gripe with Warhol's art here is that it contributes negligibly to the development of painting, visual art, and aesthetics in general. That should come as no surprise, since Warhol comes out of the anti-art, anti-aesthetic, anti-painting tradition dating back to Duchamp's Fountain, and he largely eschewed painting in favor of commercial silk screening processes.
Earlier, you said casually, since I don't believe in painting anymore.
Well, I don't believe in painting because I hate objects, and I hate
to go to museums and see pictures on the wall because they look so important and they don't really mean anything.
If art audiences want to see visually captivating, complex, virtuoso, innovative, or painterly works, they won't find anything of the kind in the Warhol repertoire. Warhol's great achievement was to transplant commercial images, commercial image-making processes, and commercial subjects from the checkout counter and the television set and into the hollowed space of the fine art gallery and museum. Perhaps even more importantly, he managed to immortalize himself as a beloved American celebrity icon. His image with wig hair standing on end and plastic glasses is as much of his legacy as anything he made with his own hand or that his factory turned out in his name. He is a master of the cult of banality, along with Hughes and Hearst and Martin Creed, forever precariously balancing on the cutting, teetering edge between crystalline brilliance and utter inanity. Perhaps he employed the same tactic with his public persona. For the record, I tend to think Warhol's startlingly shy, sweet, innocent, helpless, and at a loss for words demeanor was as much of a put-on as the roles played by Michael Jackson or Jeff Koons. My guess is that Warhol shrewdly merely acted like one of the dimmest bulbs one's ever seen.
You never in any of your work have ever really said anything that tells anyone anything about you, and you don't want that to happen, do you?
Well, there's not very much to say about me.
But if I didn't know better, I might suspect that Robert Hughes did get Andy Warhol's art, not to mention Damien Hirst's, and that the public facade Andy put on wasn't a mask to shield an intensely brilliant and sensitive interior. Rather, we might trust Andy himself when he said that to know him, we just need to look at the surface and there was nothing behind it.
If you want to know all about Andy Warhol, just look at the surface of my paintings and films and me. And there I am. There's nothing behind it.
I'm left wondering if the absence of individuality, authenticity, and originality with a wink is that much better than without a wink. And is the originality of being unoriginal really all that original or original at all? I don't say that I have the answer, and any answer is just a string of words that is always a poor substitute for reality. But what I am more certain of is that I want to be able to ask the question, to question Warhol's legacy, and I don't want an answer crafted by the marketplace crammed down my throat. I especially don't want a glib, whitewashed, sanitized history of art where Robert Hughes never called Andy Warhol stupid. See you next time for another adventure in art.
Art versus machines. Art versus machines. Art versus machines.
Here's a song that was beautiful when performed by my ancestor Art. Are you going to Scarborough Fair?
Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme.